Good afternoon and welcome to Glam Ghoulish Ghost Stories. I'm your host, Carly, and no, I didn't just become a douchebag. This is a hat for one of my 6 costumes for Halloween. I don't want to give them all away, but this is the villain from Dr. Sleep, which I just loved when I watched it. Haven't read it yet. I just got The Shining though, and I'm going to read that when I have free time. Never. Today I'm coming off of a little mini breakdown. You know how it goes. So we're going to keep it real, and I am going to, in the spirit of my throbbing headache and the low energy that I have and the fact that I have a show tonight. It's also pumpkin spice. Bleh. It's also pumpkin spice latte season. So get you one of those, cold or hot. Probably cold because down here in Georgia, it's like 95 degrees and sizzling. We're gonna talk about some fun Halloween facts. It's 67 days until Halloween when I post this video. So hopefully you'll find something that you didn't know before. I don't normally vet my products because I don't know what I'm doing, but I just bought this because, I don't know, I like marshmallows, but it sounded really cool and it's gotten good reviews, so I'm gonna put it on my face. I just got back from the beach, so I'm tan. See, look at that, ew. So go ahead and get your PSLs ready, and let's dig into some Halloween fun facts. In honor of, oh my God, this smells like cotton candy. Speaking of candy, that wasn't planned. Candyman's coming out this weekend, and I'm gonna go see it with my friends, and it's gonna be amazing. I love the original, and I'm sure this new one will be awesome too. So grab your best friend or your second best friend and hook your hooks together and go to the movies with your mask on and get vaccinated. Please get vaccinated. Please get vaccinated. In honor of Candyman coming out this weekend, I wanted to tell y'all the real story of the Candyman. And there's a bunch of people that are called Candyman, but this story in particular is about the man who started the myth of there being poisoned candy out and about, like just random people giving out poison candy. I might have told this before. I think I did it on TikTok, but I only have 150 followers, so like nobody saw that. It was 1974. And there was a family of 4. The dad's name was Ronald O'Brien, and he had 2 children, a boy and a girl. I just don't understand the whole life insurance policy thing, because it's like, it's so obvious. Like, why are you gonna take out a life insurance policy on a 9-10-year-old child? It's super sketch, but he didn't get away with it anyway. I guess I kind of gave away the ending, but you probably knew that nonsense was afoot. The kids go out trick-or-treating. They bring back their candy, including candy that they had at the house. And I think their parents said they could have like 1 or 2 pieces of candy. So I don't know what the little girl chooses, but she chooses right because she does not choose poison candy. But the little boy, unfortunately, chooses wrong. And he basically takes the pixie stick, tastes it, doesn't taste anything funny. A couple hours later, he's dead. So this is all very sad. So the first thought was, oh my God, some weirdo from the end of the street has poisoned the candy. And it's like, no, actually, kind of like when we talk about violence in general, a lot of times it's a person you know. So here we are being paranoid, like, oh my God, don't do Halloween anymore because there's weirdos that are putting poison in the candy. No, it was his dad. The little boy's dad took out life insurance policies on his children shortly before Halloween of that year. It's 1974, so people are still getting away with some pretty like skeezy, sleazy tricks that they could not pull off now when everybody is like up your butt in your business. And back then it was just like, whatever, move along. The boy ended up dying like the next day. And eventually, it comes back that this man pulled an insurance policy on a otherwise healthy young child, and he ended up getting convicted, put away. So it's very sad. But the thing about it is, so he put potassium cyanide in the pixie stick, which, you know, little boys don't normally know what cyanide tastes like. So he just ate it and went to sleep and he died. The thing that I think is important about this story is that it just emphasizes kind of the paranoia that we like to perpetuate as a culture that often has no basis. If I'm freaking out about something and I don't have all the facts, but the fact that I'm freaking out makes other people freak out, that's how rumors get started. That's how people start to actually believe that there are people out there who would just poison candy randomly. And there actually, as far as I've seen, there haven't been any accounts of an actual random candy poisoning. And, you know, of course we have like the Tylenol murders and all of that, but as far as candy, we don't really have an example of that except for in this instance, which was all the way back in the 70s. Yeah, watch out for those life insurance policies, right? So Ronald Clark O'Brien, the original Candyman, not as cool as our hook-handed friend that we know and love that hangs out with the bees. He was just a loser dad. On our next stop, I'm going to offer you a couple of, I don't want to call them fun facts because these were horrible serial killers, but I don't know, it's interesting. Something that has been bugging me lately on social media, there's this meme that's going around and it's a list of serial killers, but it's only serial killers with, I believe, Gemini, Virgo, Pisces, maybe Sagittarius, but it's like 4 zodiac signs. And it's like, oh, look at all these serial killers. They're only these 4. Okay, well, first of all, that's a scam so that you'll put your birthday out and that people can get your information more easily because you're like, oh my God, no serial killers are Capricorns. It's like, no, that's not true. They pick and choose these 4 and it's like, it's not an exhaustive list. Like H.H. Holmes and Albert Fish were both Taurus. And that's not even on there. And I'm just like, y'all are so dumb. But I'm dumb too with other things, so I can't be too mean about it. But anyway, if you see that meme, it's so stupid. They just like picked 4 zodiac signs. Y'all, I'm struggling so hard today. This is the 4th time that the camera has shut off. Like, I don't know what to do. So we're gonna go back. Ted Bundy was executed the week that I was born, but people were celebrating, which I get because he was horrible and he wasn't cute either. Like, for those of you who actually are attracted to serial killers, talk to your therapist about that. It's not a good look. Like, we are interested in them and we are fascinated by these true crime stories and we make some dark jokes, but like, my God, stop getting married to these people while they're in prison. It's disgusting. Stop it. So Ted Bundy, he was executed the week that I was born and people were having like grill outs and saying Friday, even though I think it was a Tuesday. Yeah, kind of strange. I hope his soul didn't like invite itself like into my body when I was, that wouldn't make sense anyway though. That doesn't make any sense because it would have been 6 days and I was in Georgia and he was not in Georgia, so whatever. If you're like me and you like to stay awake at night and look at pictures of dead Victorian people, then you are in great luck. I'm going to talk briefly about post-mortem photography in the Victorian era. So back then, there was a lot higher of a mortality rate, so it was actually quite common for children not to make it to adulthood. Kids to pass away right after birth or when they were a couple years old, which is always going to be sad, of course. But it was more normalized back then, because now it's like, you know, something awful happens. But back then, I mean, that's part of the reason why people had so many children, was just because, hey, chances were it wasn't going to make it. So back then, they also were just coming out with photography. And the first type of photograph was the Daguerreotype, I believe, is the correct pronunciation. It's that kind of like creepy photo where everybody's kind of brownish looking with rosy cheeks. And sometimes you'll notice if you search Victorian post-mortem photography, you will find that many of these photos were taken of people that, of course, were dead, because post-mortem, after death, that's what that means. But you'll find that some of them look alive, and that was intentional. Some of the ones you can tell that they're not alive because they'll like paint eyeballs on the eyelids and it'll look even worse than if they were just like dead. But in some cases, there's pictures of families posing with their newly deceased loved one. And you can even tell which one's dead. Like, I've been wrong before. I've been like, oh yeah, she's dead. And it's like, nope, she's dead. And I'm like, wow, you never know. I mean, sometimes I could look dead. I should today because I just can't stop saying yes to doing things. And it was expensive. So if somebody passed away and they were going to be buried or cremated, they might not have had the chance to get photographed in their life before. They might not have any physical memento. Again, memento mori is the word for remember you must die. Or sorry, it looks like I got punched in the face by a unicorn. Whatever, it's fine. Photography was just getting its start, and so it was more expensive. And so if you had a child or a young person or even an old person that passed away, they might have lived their whole life without being photographed. Because, before they did paintings and stuff, but now that there was photography, I mean, why not get a picture? People did it less and less, partly because people in America especially, I guess I'm just speaking for the Western world, but our relationship with death here is kind of strange because, like, if we talked about it more, I don't feel like people would be so afraid of it, because I believe in a spiritual afterlife, and I believe that there's more going on, and I believe that we continue after we die somewhere. A lot of people are really scared of death, and by no means do I want to go anytime soon. Like, I want to live to be 112 so that I can see three centuries. It's okay to talk about it, and it's okay to like look at it. Like, it just boggles my mind how much the cultural understanding of death has just kind of ebbed and flowed over time, and then other cultures that are not Western have always had a healthier relationship with death. And so I admire the Victorians in that way, because they, not just aesthetically, I mean, I love the skeletons and the lace and the, everything Victorian just for the looks, but really the things they were into, the spiritualism, that was very interesting. And we really lack that now, because I feel like a lot of people who are into spiritualism, they are really just trying to scam you. And so then it makes everybody else look bad that's actually trying to connect to the spiritual realm. And then you have these assholes who are just on TV trying to get people's money. That's a soapbox I'll go off later. So post-mortem photography kind of fell out of favor because photography was becoming more common in life. It was becoming less expensive. Life expectancy was better. And people, I guess, got less cool about death, and they started being into other things. So yeah, take a look. My favorite archive is the Thanatos Archive, and it's got lots of gorgeous pictures of photographs. And I would love to have like a real one. I have daguerreotypes, but they're not post-mortem. They're still creepy though. They're still very creepy. Just because people back then, the exposure lasted so long that they had to stand there, so that I wasn't gonna hold a smile. So that's why they all look dead in the eyes, like all of them, because they're all just like, when can I leave? When can I play? I hate this. I want to be buried in a wooden coffin and in like an old lace dress with all of my valuables. And then I want to get grave robbed, and then I want them to get scared because I'll haunt them. Just for fun though. Just for fun. Halloween and celebrations of the dead are all around the world. So please correct me if I'm missing information or if I have said something incorrectly, because this is just based on years of kind of accumulating information. So in Ireland, where Halloween or Samhain began, they used to carve turnips instead of pumpkins, and that seems really hard. I carved a pepper once and made a teeny little pumpkin, little jack-o'-lantern out of the pepper. And that was difficult. So turnips, yeah. I don't even think I've ever eaten a turnip. Scottish girls believed that they could see images of their future husbands if they hung wet sheets in the front of a fire on Halloween. That seems like a little much. And also, like, what if they were going to have a wife? Well, I guess back then in Scotland, like, you didn't, but still, it seems like a little work. Halloween actually used to be kind of like Valentine's Day, in that it was like a romantic holiday. Like, it wasn't just romantic, but there were a lot of traditions where people, especially young girls, would do certain rituals to try to see like where they would find their love and who it would be. So I think that's kind of sweet. And on Halloween in Poland, believers are encouraged to walk through the forest while praying out loud so that the souls of the dead can hear them. I always try to say hello when I'm in a supposedly haunted area and just tell whatever spirits are there that I appreciate them for hosting me, just that I'm grateful, and that, yeah, I'm making jokes and stuff, but like I really do appreciate it. And I really do revere all those in the spirit world, except for the assholes. They can haunt me. So this is something that I don't know much about, but apparently there's a Hungry Ghost Day in China. It takes place on the 15th day of the 7th month of the Chinese calendar. And people celebrate the day by warding off evil spirits and revering ancestral spirits. Very similar to Samhain. It's interesting how a lot of these things kind of coincide with the end of warm weather, the end of the long day. And I think that's kind of how it got to be that way with so many different cultures celebrating the dead, kind of at the same time of the year, but it's like everything else is dying on Earth. So it makes sense. So it's like, oh, I see the leaves are dying. I guess I can relate that to people who are dying, and maybe I can communicate with them. Because one of the things I love about Halloween is that it's the day when the veil is thin. So it's always the day that I feel most spiritually aware. That's just how I feel. And I feel like it shouldn't like just be a day of, ooh, that's scary and satanic. It's like, that's just another appropriation that white people are like, no, that's bad. I don't like that. It's like culturally celebrating the spirits of the dead goes back so much deeper. And I love the spooky yuki stuff, but like, I just love spirits. I think that they're real and they're important. Some fun facts about Halloween. The highest grossing spooky movie, just like scary horror kind of in that realm, was actually so far It Part 1, the remake back in 2017, which I saw in the theater with my dad. And I love the original too, because Tim Curry's unmatched. But I like the remakes. The second highest grossing horror movie of all time was The Sixth Sense back in the 90s. I like, there's something about the late 90s where like the really crappy movies, like, hey, this is just my opinion, but I don't like The Haunting and I don't like 13 Ghosts. And I think it has this like really gross, like late 90s, early 2000s cheapness to it. I mean, some of the design is really cool, but the acting and like the characterization is just really bizarre to me. But then the other things from 99, like we started seeing like Blair Witch Project and The Sixth Sense, just kind of that low key, like slow burn, dark. I like that better. I mean, the campy stuff is fun too, but the early 2000s were just kind of like, they were just cheap. They were just so plasticky. Like Mean Girls, like the plastics. According to a poll in 2017, the most hated Halloween candies are black licorice, candy corn, and Tootsie Rolls. I don't mind Tootsie Rolls or candy corn. I don't like black licorice though. Disgusting. I'm actually more of a fruit candy person myself rather than a chocolate. So those are some interesting facts about Halloween, Samhain, Day of the Dead, spooky facts, serial killer facts. I need to stop mentioning them in every single conversation, but I won't stop. And in fact, I'm going to do a half of my set tonight on like ghost jokes. So that's the way it is, and that's the way it's going to be. So thank you for bearing with me through this horrible struggle of camera shutting off 10 times. I know I look like a complete lunatic and not at all like somebody on HBO's Euphoria because I have bags under my eyes, and Zendaya does not have bags under her eyes, but it's fine. It's all fine. I love you and I appreciate you. And please check out my friend's podcast, another Carly, who also liked ghosts. She interviewed me a couple of weeks ago. It's called the Boohoo Podcast, and you can find it on Spotify. Also, be sure to check out our channel for upcoming historical videos for Country Fried Cryptid, and we will let you know what's going on. So happy 67 days until Halloween. Keep it spooky and drop some facts below if you have anything that you would like to discuss that is of the spooky nature. Say goodnight to the head and the bat and the little skeleton. Yeah, skeletons, her name's Bailey. Real ones know why. All right, I'm gonna take my glitter bags and go. Bye.